Thank you very much.
Cool, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Wow, my hometown of Murfreesboro needs a program like this. This is awesome. What? Let's talk. Absolutely. Thank you guys for coming out. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me to come up and speak. I've got so much material as I started preparing for this weekend. I started going over notes and thinking about the mechanics of what it takes to goal set and reach those goals. And I started putting down, I need to tell them about this, and I need to tell them about this tip and that tip. And man, I've got so much material to go over, I probably won't even have time to cover it all. So I'm going to dive right in. And I tried to arrange it in order of priority so that we could hit the most important parts first. All right, and so the first thing I want to tell you is there's great news. Did you guys know that you're capable of so much more than you actually realize? Right? If I told you, if you went time traveled and you went backwards, and let's say you were to go back 10 years in time, or maybe even 20 years in time, and at that point in time, do you think you could meet yourself and say to yourself, there is so much latent potential in your possibilities? Would you agree that if you went back, you would see all the possibilities of things that you could have done, right? Well, that means going forward in the future, it's the same exact thing. If you were to go forward in time 10 or 20 years, you would probably look back to this day, this time, this moment, and go, wow, there was so much unrealized potential. And that's what we have to kind of wake up to, is that potential lies within all of us right now. We just have to wake up to it and realize it. Today is that day. Now is that time. This is that moment. I wanted to share these things with you that have brought me to the place in life that I'm just really blessed to be in. I've really been able to enjoy things that I never thought possible when I was younger. I'm a husband of 21 years. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a self-proclaimed geek. And I guess you would say I'm somewhat of an athlete. And so tonight will be all about sharing those tools with you that I use to accomplish these things. As I go through tonight, I'm going to be telling you about stuff that I'll quote different philosophers, I'll quote different spiritual traditions. So, if you feel like jumping up and shouting and saying amen, feel free. If you want to go, hey, that's right, then just go ahead, jump right in there. With these points, I think a lot of these things have helped me stay married for over 21 years now. The things that I'm going to talk with you about are not only applicable in your personal life, but they're applicable in business, and they're applicable in your spiritual pursuits as well. In business, they have helped me remain in the top 1% of my industry for over 25 years. Now, I'm a cosmetologist by trade, and I've been practicing for almost 30 years. But within that 30-year period, I've remained in the top 1% of earners in my profession. And these tips that I'm going to share with you tonight are the things that help me stay in that bracket. As far as my geekiness, I am part of one of 1,500 researchers that are researching frequency generation for the purpose of entrainment and healing. Everything from the elimination of pathogens and viruses all the way to cancer. So entrainment is something that we're going to talk a little bit about as well tonight, the psychology and the actual physical application of. So I'm one of about 1,500 researchers that's continuing the studies that Dr. Royal Rife presented in the 1930s. It's pretty cool. Athletic achievements, I'm a mixed martial artist, I'm a boxer, I'm a snowboarder and a wakeboarder, and this year I just captured the state amateur championship at 53 years old. So for those of you that, thank you. For those of you that know what wakeboarding is, it's kind of a water form of torture where they strap your feet into these bindings and put you on a board and you have to do all these crazy stunts. The competitors closest to my own age were young enough to be my grandchildren. So these techniques, these things that I'm going to share with you have played not a major role, but the role in me being able to accomplish and pursue the things that I pursued. So jumping right in, the first thing that I want to talk with you about is creating your purpose, or what I call your why. Now, without a strong enough why, all goals are destined to fail. There's got to be something that moves you and motivates you, that in those times when you're like, man, I don't feel like eating good today, I don't feel like exercising, I don't feel like continuing on, it's got to be a purpose or a why that's going to push you past that point. I don't think most people realize, like I said at the beginning, the potential that lies within them and how important they are. Did you know that just to get here alone, just to be born in the time that you're born in, it was a 1 in 5 million shot? That means there was a race on for you to be you. At the moment of conception, there was 5 million competitors to fertilize that egg. And you won. So at the moment of conception, you were a winner. Now, there's these interesting mathematicians that have done these calculations, and they've said it goes much further than that. For you to not only be 1 in 5 million, but to also be born in the time, in the place, in the gender, in the moment that you were conceived in. If you took all these variables throughout human history and added them up, the mathematical odds of you being in this place, in this time, in this moment are 1 in 400 trillion with a T. Or as Forrest Gump would say, a quadrillion. It's just this inconceivable number. So if I was going to say, okay, lightning is going to strike today and it's going to hit one place in one moment in time and it's going to be a 400 trillion to one shot, you would want to know what that place looks like and what that place is, wouldn't you? You're that place. You're that moment. You're that place in time. And it's with a specific purpose that you were brought into this place at the specific time. I got a lot of good notes. So you have greatness embedded in you. You're born in victory. You started this life winner against impossible odds. Your purpose has got to be something great. You're special. Greatness is your destiny. So we got to set some high standards for ourselves. We actually resonate with the frequency of greatness. Okay? For those of you that believe the Christian tradition, and I'm sure there's a lot of you in here like that, we're like a tuning fork. We're made in the image of the Creator himself. Now, if all of you were a tuning fork, and I held up one master tuning fork, and I struck it real hard and held it here, you would all begin to resonate to that same frequency. Okay? Metaphorically speaking, you're made in the image of the Creator himself. You resonate with the energy of the actual Creator himself. So, you're born into a specific time, a specific place, a specific purpose, in the image of the Creator himself. I think that's pretty potent. We are actually attracted to greatness. We entrain and in tune with greatness. Have you ever watched a great Olympic event or a gymnastics event, and you see the incredible things that the athletes can do with their bodies, and this lump comes up in your throat, and just for a minute your eyes begin to water, and you just think, wow, that's breathtaking. Have you guys experienced that? You know what I'm talking about? That's because greatness in you resonates with the greatness that you see in that performance. You entrain to it, you attune to it, somehow you're attracted to it because it exists within you. If it didn't, it wouldn't even hit you that way. You wouldn't even be pulled toward that. But it's because of that greatness in you that you relate to what it is that you see. Average was never in the plans for any of you in this room. It was never in the works. The mathematical odds, the possibilities, they were never figured to be average. And you know how we define average? It's the best of the worst. Nobody wants to be labeled as average, and none of us here are average. So what we have to do is we have to decide what is our purpose, what is our why, what is our strong motivator. And I like to refer to this metaphorically as our mountain. Okay? So when we set that goal, when we set that mountain, it's got to be something grandiose, something really, really, really large. And once you discover what it is that's your mountain, what's worthy of your passion, that will be the thing that will propel you forward when it's the hardest to move forward with the goals that you set. When you set that, it's really important to stay present. One of the things that people have a tendency to do is they'll calculate and say, okay, all right, if my goal is at the top of this mountain, then they'll go, oh, wow, I'm going to have to step here, cross this stream, get over that bridge, climb that tree, get beyond this pile of rocks to get to the top of the mountain. I can't do that. I can't make it. Well, what you have to do when you set this grand goal is you have to break these things down one step at a time, and you look at the step that's in front of you. You know the old saying about, well, you can eat an elephant if you eat it one bite at a time, right? Or you can move the mountain if you just do it one shovelful at a time. That's what I want you to do when you set these goals for yourself. When you decide what it is, your true north, your top of the mountain, then you go, okay, my next step toward the top of that mountain is right here. And then you make that step. And then you focus on the next step, and then the next step. And eventually you find yourself at the top of that mountain. It's so important when you're in the process of doing it as well, is to seek out and recognize the people, the places, the situations and circumstances that support your journey to the top of your mountain. Knowing that we become like the company that we keep. It's very, very important to surround yourself with people that share your vision, or at least support you in your vision. And then in the process of making it, going on that journey, remember that the joy is in the journey. You know, when you make it to it, when a mountain climber makes it to the top of the mountain, what does he do? Sticks a flag in it, looks around and goes, okay, well, I made it. I think I'll go climb that mountain over there. Because it's the steps along the way onto the top of the mountain is where you'll find all the adventure. It's where you'll find the beautiful scenery. It's where life opens up to you. Okay? So love the journey. A warrior's fight is in the fighting. Once he fights the battle and he's done, he looks for another battle to fight. I like to think of, too, the firefly, he gives off his light when he's in motion, when he's flying. When he lands, he don't get up any light anymore. So when you're moving to the top of your mountain, that's when you're going to be giving off your light. Victory is sweet, but the journey is where life happens. There's, in my industry, there's a heavyweight by the name of Al Sassoon, who just passed away a couple of years ago. Some of you probably recognize the name. He was probably the most influential person in the cosmetology ever. He was the right man, right moment, right place, right time. And this was a guy that at the time of his death, he died at 83, and they shot a documentary of his life at 81. And at the time of his death, he was worth multiples of millions of dollars. He had been there, done it all, seen it, traveled the world. And when they shot the documentary, they asked him a really important question, one that it had me on the edge of my seat. And I was like, what's he going to say next? They asked him, they said, Darrell, they said, with all that you've done and all that you have and all that you've acquired, what is it now that brings you the most joy in life? And he thought about it for a second, and he looked, and he said, going into my salon, crafting out a beautiful hair design, and making a woman feel good about the way that she looks probably brings me more joy than anything else. And I thought that was very poignant, because what that means is out of all the things that he had the capacity to do, what brought him back to the table was his journey. It was the thing that brought him there in the first place. And so I thought that was really, really interesting that, this is a guy who probably could have commandeered a Learjet, flown to London for breakfast, and then, got a suntan in the Tahitian Islands that afternoon. But it was the journey is what he was most attracted to. So as you're setting the goals, realize that you're going to really have a good time along the way. Now, why it's important to set those goals and move along on those journeys. It's your quantum effect in life. It's the effect systemically that you're going to have on the people, the places, and the moments that you meet these people and you come in contact with them. Quantum effect is a lot like the butterfly effect. How many of you guys have heard of the butterfly effect? It's a kind of a scientific term that implies that a butterfly flapping its wings in Japan today will cause a tsunami on the East Coast tomorrow. Everything has a point of origin where it starts off as something small and then ends up in something very profound. So when you're creating your why and you're asking yourself, why should I lose weight? Why should I get in the best shape of my life? Why should I push my body so hard? It's because as you go forward in life, you're going to have a quantum effect on all the people that you come in contact with, the situations that you deal with in life. A great example of that would be, how many of you guys at this time of year, coming up on Christmas, we've all seen the It's a Wonderful Life movie? How many have seen that? All right? Okay, so for just a second, the main character is given the opportunity to see what his quantum effect in his world has created by him being removed from it, to see how different everything was. Because he got to that point where he said, my life's not worth anything, and I wish I'd never been born because I'm just worthless. But yet when he was removed from his life, he saw how everything was different. And so it is with our own lives, the people, the friends that we have, our children, our parents, our relationships. We're affecting those people every day, every moment of our lives. And even the hand that you shake and the smile that you give and the coming up and talking to people and trying to help them with their lives. This has a systemic effect that we can see clearly when we look backwards on our lives. You can all trace back some of the major events of your lives, getting married or getting a great job. You can trace it back to, I was standing in the mirror that day and I just combed my hair over to this side and I looked so good. I felt so great. I asked for the raise and I got it, and then they promoted me, and it all started because I combed my hair over to this side today. But everything has that. It starts with the tiniest of things. So as you're setting your goal and you're projecting what your mountain is going to be, remember, set it high, because you're going to have an effect on everything and everybody that you come in contact with on the way to the top of that mountain. It's like seed sowing. We're doing it all the time. We're doing it consciously or unconsciously, but we're doing it. So sometimes we create joy and sometimes we create suffering. But if we do it consciously, we can create joy and happiness for the people we come in contact with. I like to think of it as we're creating ripples in the pond of life. And when you're in motion and you're setting goals and you're on fire and you're pumped up, it's like you're taking this big rock and you're throwing it in the pond of life, and the ripples that go out from there forward are impacting this person, and they bounce off of that person into this person. And they have this systemic effect that in human terms almost can't even be measured, going forward. But if you look backward, you'll start going, hey, you know what, he's right. Because that day when I was having a great day and I shook this person's hand and they called me later and said, hey, thank you for lifting me up because it made all the difference in my life. And then I went home and treated my children differently, and then they did better in school. But it all started with somebody going, hey, I'm thinking about you. I hope you're having a great day. That's the quantum effect that we have in the world. And it truly is immeasurable. All right, so what I want to cover now is visualization. Oh boy, I didn't set my timer before I began. I'm in big trouble now. I asked Joe to stop me about 5 minutes before my time was up. I've got a lot to go over, so what we'll do is I'll go as deep into this as I can. When we run out of time, I'm going to cover the rest of the material in the second class, and I'll try to do a quick rehash at the beginning. Visualization, this is super important. Imagination is a gift. Did you know that human beings are the only known creatures on the face of the earth that were given the gift of imagination? And as little children, we're encouraged to use our imaginations. If we see a stick on the ground, we pick it up, it becomes a weapon, right? And that bush behind that tree is not just a bush behind the tree, it's a monster. And we're going to attack it with our weapon. And we've got this imagination that just carries us and propels us forward. Something happens about the age of 10 or 12, we're told to quit using our imagination and quit dreaming. It's almost like, okay, now you have to get serious about life. But, I would say to you, your imagination is one of your most powerful tools. With it, you can create dreams and visions that can help you decide, hey, what is my mountain? What is it that is that unreasonable, irrational goal that I want to go for? You need that imagination that helps fuel that sense of desire inside you to create that. Nothing could be more important than you going, I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to become the fastest, baddest wakeboarder at the age of 53 years old that's on the water. And if they tell me it can't be done, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to love seeing that look on those kids' face when they show up and go, you competing with us? Sure he is. And then back at the winner's circle when I take the trophy and they got that stunned look on their face like, you did not just do that. You got to be unreasonable when it comes to goal setting. You got to set it high. I'm going to get so far ahead of myself here, but it's like the archer. Okay? He shoots at the target and lets it go. Right? If that target, if he misses it, he'll just keep adjusting his aim until he hits that target and hits the bullseye. That's the way it's got to be with your goal setting. In setting that imagination, in working with your imagination, in using that as a part of your goal setting, nurture and protect that. If somebody says to you, well, gee, Darrell, you're a little old for that. You could really get hurt. Don't let that defer you. Don't let that dismay you. Utilize that. Feed on that. There's going to be a lot of people when you set a goal, for whether it's losing weight, getting in shape, running a marathon, they're going to tell you all the reasons why you can't do that or why you shouldn't do that. Because it causes a lot of self-examination. And when people see you moving, they have to look at themselves and go, well, why am I not moving? Why am I not losing weight? And so a lot of times it's easier for people to start breaking you down than it is to go to work and build themselves up. All right? So protect that. When you create that vision, protect it. Share it with people that'll applaud you for doing it. But protect it from people that'll break you down. All right, how many people have been through a 360 visualization technique, where you do visualization techniques to help bring out what it is that you're wanting to accomplish? Okay, one person. Wonderful. You guys are going to love this. Since we're all here and everybody's here losing weight, what I'm going to ask you to do with me is let's go through the exercise of visualization. All right, and what I want you to do is we're going to employ all 5 sense gates. And did you know that your brain does not know the difference when you use heavy visualization between what is reality and what you're imagining in your mind? So the chemistry that your brain produces and the way your actual cell network reproduces is based on what you believe. And when you have a strong visualization in your mind, your body will actually begin to replicate what it is you see in your mind. Okay? So here's how we do this. Everybody close their eyes for just a second. Now I want you to imagine, we're going to go to the beach together. And what I want you to do is imagine your body, and we're standing on the beach, and we're going to first go through hearing. And as you're standing on the beach, what do you hear? And it can be any beach. It can be Gulf Shores. It can be Key West. It can be the beach of Tahiti. It doesn't matter. What do you hear? Do you hear the sound of the water? Bring that sound of the water in it. We're going to let go of all the other aspects of what we're going to think about or visualize in our minds. But right now, we just hear the sound of the water. What else do you hear? Do you hear the sound of birds flying overhead, those seagulls? Can you hear it? Good. What do you smell? You smell salt air. You smell the smell of maybe suntan lotion kind of drifting down from somebody that's tanning. Okay. Now this is your body on the beach, so you're standing there. We hear the sound of the water. We hear the sound of the birds. We can smell the salt in the air. What does that salt taste like? Can you taste it on your tongue? God bless you. Obviously, salty air makes you sneeze. Now the touch. Are you standing in the water? Is it knee deep or ankle deep? Can you feel the water coming up around your ankles? Is it warm? Do you feel a slight breeze coming across your shoulders? Because there's usually a nice breeze at the beach. So we can hear it. We can smell it. Now we taste it. Now we touch it. We feel what it feels like. The sun's beating down on your shoulders and it's nice and warm. All right, now we're going to bring in the most important part, which is your visual aspect of this. Now this is your body, and this is your body as you see it in the best shape of your entire life. This is your body in a swimsuit, and this is your body looking fantastic. Yeah, you have seen your body in your mind, hitting the goal that you've made for yourself, looking phenomenal. And the first view we're going to see of your body is from straight on, as if you're out in the ocean and you're looking up toward the beach, and you're looking at your body. Wow, does it look great? Okay, and then from your mind's eye view, rotate to the right side of your body. So you're seeing a view of you from the side. Your muscles are sinewy. Everything is tight. You got a six-pack abdominal set. Man, are you looking good. And the water's still there, and you can still smell the salt air, the breeze blowing through. You see it? Now move your mind's eye view around to the back side of your body. So you're looking at yourself looking out into the ocean. Your shoulders are broad, your posture is perfect, and your symmetry is amazing. Your skin looks great, you look muscular, and you look like you're fit and ready for battle, like you could take on the world. You see it? Now in your mind's eye, take that camera and go straight up overhead, like you're looking straight down through the top of your head. And even the shadow that's coming off your body is symmetrical as it casts the shadow off to one side. And you're panning around your body, and it looks fantastic. Okay, now open your eyes. Did you just see a vision of what your body's going to look like? Now that exercise is super powerful, no matter what you apply it to. This is what I use to go from being able to balance myself on a wakeboard to be able to win the state tournament. I would see myself going through those motions, going over those jumps, doing those tricks, flying through the air in slow motion with a 360-degree camera view of myself as I did it, from overhead, from looking at myself in and looking at myself out. And the more detail you can bring into that visualization technique, the more sight, smell, taste, touching, hearing that you can bring into it, the more real it'll become for you, and it'll become a powerful tool. So as you're working on losing weight, and as you're working on getting in the best shape of your life, each night before you go to bed, if you'll take 60 seconds before you drift off to sleep and use this visualization technique, it will actually help start moving your body into the direction that you want it to go in. Okay? A friend of mine once said, if you can see it and you can believe it, you can achieve it. All right, now, next thing I want to talk about is immersion and the importance of immersion. And that is the aspect of just totally immersing yourself in the goal that you set. All right, there's a saying that our psychology eventually becomes our physiology, or that which we think about is what we manifest in our lives. Okay? There was a really, really interesting study that was done on a group of elderly people. And as I remember reading the study, this was a group of people who were about 70 years old. And they put about 50 of these folks in a closed area. It was a building they had sealed off, and everything about the area was, they recreated the environment of the 1950s, which would have been a time that they were in their prime. So the food that they ate, the music they listened to, the books that they read, the conversations that they had were all oriented around the 1950s. And before the study began, they had taken blood pressure, skin elasticity, bone density tests, and they had gotten that kind of static baseline measurement of what all these people's measurements were. So they let them steep in this environment for like 2 weeks, and an amazing thing happened after the 2-week period was over, and they brought them back in and retested them. Guess what happened? They got younger. They actually reversed in aging. their bone density increased, their skin elasticity increased, their hydration levels increased. And this is all while doing sock hop dancing and eating junk food and listening to old-time rock and roll music. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The body doesn't know the difference between what we believe and what is quote-unquote reality. So the more you are immersed in something, and using that visualization technique is a part of immersing yourself in it, your body begins to actually think, okay, that's my reality, so I'm going to recreate that reality. So yes, it's possible to actually get younger, not only more fit, not only the best shape of your life, you can actually reverse aging. Because there's actually 3 ways that we age: chronologically, psychologically, and biologically. And one you can't do anything about, and the other 2 are the only 2 aspects of it that are even important anyway. I mean, because if you're 100 years old and you look like you're 35, who cares what the number is, right? It's irrelevant. All right. So immersion is everything. Proactively each day, when you're going through your motions and you're doing your thing and you're all about losing weight, choose your mental state that you're going to be in. Okay? Our default setting is defeat. It's just part of human nature. So when you choose a mental state, it's not something you can just wait on to just like walk up one day and overwhelm. You have to proactively choose to be in a certain mental state. All right? For me, it's Red Bull and rock and roll music, man, and that puts me in a mental state of I'm ready to go hit the water. You will become like the company you keep, and you know my grandma used to use that great saying. She would say, if you sleep with dogs, you wake up with fleas. And it is true. If you surround yourself with people that love to go have donuts and eat pizza and sit around and watch movies, guess what? You wake up with fleas. Because doubt and disbelief are our default settings as human beings, and we have to rise above that and overcome that. It's really important that you recognize that and take a proactive movement away from that. There was a study that was done at MIT, and they had ascertained that it takes 16 yeses to overcome 1 no. So if I look at you and I say, there's no way you're going to hit your goal, 16 people will have to come behind me and go, you will hit your goal, before it will neutralize the effect of my one time of going, you won't hit your goal. So that's why immersion and surrounding yourself with winners, people that are doing the things that you want to do, is so important. It will help keep you from being derailed along your goal. A term we used to use in business building in my industry was your network will determine your net worth. And it's true. The company you keep are going to help set the pace for your success. Some of the things that I hear people say, well, gosh, Darrell, I'd like to work out and be super fit and be a mixed martial artist like you, but I don't have time. There's one thing that me, you, Gandhi, Jesus Christ, everybody had, we all have in common. We all got 24 hours in a day, right? Same time allotment for all of us. It's how we prioritize our time. I was doing some research and trying to figure out why people, where their time's going. I was thinking, how much time do people spend watching television? I wonder. Because I personally will spend probably less than 2 hours a week. And I thought, I bet people spend probably 5 or 6 hours out of their entire week watching television. Well, you better take a guess at how much TV we watch a day, according to Nielsen ratings. This is 5 hours. 5 hours a day watching TV. That's 35 hours a week. That's a full-time job, watching TV. Think of what you could do if you just said, okay, I can't quit watching TV 5 hours a day, but maybe if I just shaved off a half hour and spent a half hour exercising like my pants were on fire. Do you think you could make some changes? Oh, yes, you could. You bet. Personally, I don't think there's been anything that's ever done more damage to society and humanity than television. Because thank you very much. The thing that it does worse than even immobilize us is it skews our perspective on what life is supposed to be like. So hence, we all think we're supposed to be the Kardashians or something. I don't get it. We see this on TV, and we see people with these lives and this going on, and we watch and we think, wow, something's missing in my life. It's not. TV is fabricated. I have been in the television business. I flew back and forth to LA, and I worked on a lot of people in the entertainment industry. Those movie sets are just like the ones in the Old West. They're actually about this big with this little stuff, and it's all made to look, smoke and mirrors, and the people are, they're nobody here in the entertainment industry, right? They're as shallow as they can be. It's not real. It's just it's there to make us think that there's something we're missing out on that we can have if we can buy whatever they're endorsing. Okay? Anyway, that was I digress. Prioritize what's consistent with your dreams. If we could just shave off a little of the TV time, we could end obesity in this country virtually overnight. We could repair our healthcare system virtually overnight if we just cut our TV watching in half. There's time. There's time. I read a startling statistic a couple of weeks ago and put it down in my notes. In the next decade, if we don't change course, that there will be 1 in 3 Americans in the next decade will be diabetic. And 1 in 2 African Americans will be diabetic. That's going to be catastrophic to our healthcare system, and on a personal level, unbelievably catastrophic. So, feed your mind and feed your spirit. That's what's going to take you to the top of the mountain. There ain't nothing much on TV that's going to help you get there. Read motivational books. The average American in this country now reads 1 book a year. 5 hours of TV a day, 1 book a year. What would happen if we just watched TV 5 hours a day every other day and read a book once a week by somebody who's done something great in the field that you're interested in? Somebody who's climbed the mountain that you have set before you that you want to climb. And again, that mountain is personal to you. It may be, I want to be the best cupcake maker in the whole world, or I'm going to surf in big Hawaii and I'm going to set a new record or goal, or I'm going to get in the best shape of my life, whatever that mountain is. There are people who have probably climbed that mountain before you and would love to tell you how to get there, and have written books on it. What about motivational videos on YouTube? There's an ocean full of motivational material on YouTube just waiting for you to click on it. Maybe one motivational video for 5 minutes a day to start the day or end the day with, as opposed to The Walking Dead. Meditate on what is pure, positive, and powerful. Has anybody heard of a Japanese scientist by the name of Emoto and his experiments with water? Oh, good. You're going to love this. There's a Japanese scientist by the name of Emoto, and he did these experiments with water, which are just absolutely mind-boggling. What he did was he took water, and he'd put them in 2 separate containers, and he was viewing the, I guess what you would call the molecular structure of water under an electron microscope. And he would take water and put it in one jar, and then he would literally curse at it. He would literally say negative things, and he would have people come by the water and project negative feelings toward it. And then he would take samples of the water and put it under a microscope, and on a molecular level, the water looked blobby, jello-y, yellow, deteriorative. Then he would take the same water from the same water source, and he'd put it in another jar, and he would write on the outside of the jar, gratitude, love, compassion, hope. And he would literally have people come by and project feelings of positiveness toward it, thanksgiving toward the water, appreciation toward the water. And when he would take the same water out and he'd put it under the same electron microscope and look at it, guess what he saw? The most beautiful, crystalline, snowflake-type structure of the molecular structure of the water. And they were in 2 control groups. Nobody touched it. They only projected emotion toward it. Now, the fact that you are predominantly water, this should have a profound impact on how you view yourself. Am I ugly? Am I unworthy? Am I able or am I incapable? Am I powerful or am I weak? You're setting the stage for the actual molecular structure of your own bodies to change by the actual thoughts that you have about yourself. Your psychology, becomes your biology. Now, this is science. Now, you can look this up as well. You can YouTube Emoto's experiments with water and see this. You can also see Emoto's experiments with rice. And this is where individuals have followed Dr. Emoto's studies and actually took cooked rice in 2 sealed containers and done exactly the same thing to it. And in 6 weeks, the rice that is quote-unquote cursed at will be moldy, unedible, brown, and funky looking. The rice that is blessed, appreciated, and has gratitude projected toward it will look like someone put it in a vacuum-sealed container and it has not even got the slightest bit of discoloration or mold on it. Now, I think that's pretty profound. about the mental state that we have toward ourselves, toward our goals, how we feel about how we're going to project ourselves going forward. Because we are mainly made up of that same material. Emoto, E-M-O-T-T-O. That one's going to rock your world when you see it. Believe in yourself. You're far more powerful than you realize. There's enough latent energy in the fingertip. About 5 minutes? Perfect. In your fingertip, there's enough to level the entire city of Tullahoma. Did you know that? From a molecular standpoint, if you could separate the electrons and start a nuclear process from just the fingernail, it would devastate this entire region. You have no idea how much power that you actually possess. All things are possible that when you begin to believe in yourself. When I was a kid, I was what you would call a late bloomer. I was really small in stature and small in size, and so I started going to the gym to exercise and work out. And the big turning point for me was when I started looking in the mirror and going, hey, I'm starting to get some muscle. Maybe I'm not the little shrimpy, insignificant, small guy that everybody thought I was and that I think I am. And that turning point of starting to believe in myself changed everything in my life. So believe in yourself and believe that anything is possible. There's a biblical saying that says anything is possible to those who believe. Those who believe what? That anything is possible. Okay? That's applied toward anything, your personal goals, business goals, physical goals. It all starts first with the belief that I can do it. And then you start moving in that direction, one step at a time. You don't think about all the other steps ahead of you. You just focus on the ones. And then make your goal high. Make it lofty. All right? Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is just a part of the process that you go through to whittle away the things that don't work until you get to the ones that do. All right. We're going to stop there because I think I'm out of time for this part, and then I'm going to pick up the second half in the next class. Thank you very much.
Come on up.
What a great intro. Thank you, Joe.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks. This is a fun group. Now let's start this off the right way by going, there's greatness embedded in me. Say it. Music to my ears. Say it one more time. Let me prove it to you. If you could turn back time and go back 10 or 20 years in your life and think about the things that you would do differently, there'd be a lot of things you'd do differently, wouldn't it? You can think of a whole bunch of stuff. That's because when you go backwards in time, you can see that you're capable of so much more than you realized at the time, right? Okay, let's fast forward 10 or 20 years. Do you think we're going to think the same thing about ourselves going forward 10 or 20 years? We're going to look back then on this time and go, wow, greatness was embedded in me, and I just didn't realize it. Well, the things that I want to go over with you tonight are about realizing the greatness that is embedded within you and how to tap into that. These are principles and techniques that are time-tested and ancient and way before me. And I'm not the possessor of the knowledge, I'm just the repeater of the knowledge. But this is some good stuff, so I hope you guys can grab a hold of some of this and make it personal for you. In the first class, I covered several points. I'm just going to skim over those real quick and kind of bring you up to speed on some of the stuff that we talked about earlier. Let's see. The first and most important thing in goal setting and achieving those goals is determining a very potent why. There's got to be a substantial reason behind your goal. It's got to be more than, well, I just want to fit into that bathing suit when springtime comes around, or when the class reunion happens, I want to be in great shape for the class reunion. Because eventually bathing suit weather ends, right? And the class reunion comes and goes, so what's going to propel you forward after that? It's got to be something deep and soul-searching, something that really makes you move, something that's your personal mountain, something that engages you and challenges you at a high level. Like we said before, greatness is embedded in us. We attract greatness because we entrain with greatness. We're made, it says, in the image of the Almighty, in His very image. It says, Scripture teaches that He knew us before we were. We're brought to this place for a specific time and purpose, and it's for a great purpose. And it's embedded into us. That entrainment, that attraction to greatness, it's there, it's in us. Have you ever watched like a gymnastics event or an Olympic event or it's a downhill snow skier and you see them doing amazing things, and for a second a big lump comes up in your throat and your heart's pounding and you just go, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love that. And it almost brings a tear to your eye. Has anybody ever experienced that besides me? Yes. You know why you experience that? Because you entrain with the greatness of that athlete, because that's embedded in you too. If you didn't resonate with that, it would mean nothing to you. But because it does, it's proof that that's inside you. That's what you're made for. Decide what your goal is. Decide what your mountain is. Decide what it is that's going to motivate and move you. It's more important than the actual process of getting there. Because if your motivation is deep enough and it brings about a deep enough commitment, it's going to sustain you when everything else fails. Let go of the how and focus on the step. Is that what I wrote? Focus on the why. Yeah. Let go of the how. In other words, don't calculate, well, gosh, my mountain's way over there. There's a lot of steps. Man, I got to cross that river, climb that tree, get over that rock, wrestle that grizzly bear before I can get to the top of the mountain. Don't focus on that. Focus on why you're going to the top of the mountain in the first place. The why will sustain you when everything else fails you. Love the journey. All the sweet stuff is in the journey. Once you get to the top of the mountain and you stab your flag in the top of the mountain, you go, oh, my mountain. I guess I'll just go climb that mountain. The joy is in the journey. So every step along the way, when you're breaking it down step by step and you're moving toward the top of that mountain, remember the sweetness is in each one of those steps along the way. That's where the joy comes from. And know this, your why is going to change the world. This is what we talked about earlier. The quantitative, systemic, some call it the butterfly effect of the cause and effect that we all have in the things that we do, the day-to-day actions, the hand that you shake, the smile that you give, are like ripples in the pond of life. When you take your rock and you throw it in the pond of life, you're creating incalculable amount of ripples that affect life after life after life, that even go beyond this life. So if you can incorporate that into your why and know that your why is going to affect people you probably haven't even seen, it underpins and substantiates and gives credence to your why. I hope that winning first place in the Tennessee State Amateur Wakeboarding Championship at 53, beating out a whole field of kids less than half my age, young enough to be my grandkids, me being old enough to be a grandparent, might have a systemic effect at some point when I get invited to come up and meet all you guys. And then hopefully I'll be able to share a word with you that would then in turn go and affect the people that you come in contact with. So that one jump that led me from here to over here that made me win first place brought me here today with you guys. I couldn't foresee that coming. But those ripples are still extending out. And know that everything that you do, everything, is going to have that ripple effect. Oh, that's good stuff. All right, I'm skimming through some stuff. Just trying to take the high points from the first class. I won't go into the actual exercise, but let me just explain how it works briefly. It's called 360-degree visualization, and it's bringing in all your 5 sense gates. So briefly, if you were to take your goal, your weight loss goal, and imagine in your mind, picture in your mind what you want your body to look like when you achieve this goal. Before you go to bed at night, take the last moments when you lay your head down on the pillow and visualize what you look like when you achieve this goal. If you're standing at the beach, what the sand under your feet feels like when you've achieved this goal. What it smells like, the salt in the air. What it tastes like on your tongue. What you hear in the background when you hear the waves going in. Bring in all the visualization, all the detail into this visual process. If this will be your last thought before you go to sleep at night, you will start a chain reaction at the cellular level in your body that will precede your actual physical effort to get to that place. Your body will take one jump ahead of you and start moving there without you. Make it the last thought that you have before you go to bed at night. It will affect your thoughts and your dreams. Your dream state will go to work in your behalf. A good friend of mine said one time, he said, if you can see it and you can believe it, you can achieve it. Bring that into your dream state as well, into your unconscious mind. We talked about the importance of immersion. Your psychology becomes your biology. What you think about yourself will become what you are tomorrow. There's 3 ways that we age: psychologically, biologically, and chronologically. And the last one don't matter. Because if you're 100 years old and you look like you're 40, you're rocking it, right? Nobody cares about the number. What we care about is how you think. Do you think like a young person? And what kind of condition you're in. Do you move like a young person? That's what matters. There was an interesting study. I'm just going to go through this really quick because I've got to get on to the second half, but there was a very interesting study done where they took a group of elderly people about at the age of 70, and they immersed them in an environment from the 1950s. And they made them eat food from the 50s. They had cheeseburgers and fries in malls. They danced the dance of the 50s. They read newspapers from the 50s. They had only language that was relative to the 1950s. And these people who were like 70 years old did something profound with their biology and their psychology. They de-aged. They actually became measurably younger. That's profound. That means the things that we think can actually make us younger. Their skin elasticity got better. Their bone density increased. Their flexibility increased without doing anything other than going, I am young, and believing it. So they immersed themselves into that environment until they actually began to think, hey, it's 1950, and I'm 20 years old. It works. Apply it. My granny used to tell me this. She'd say, baby, sleep with dog, you will wake up with fleas. What we immerse ourselves in is going to affect us, even the people around us. You become like the company that you keep. And then the big excuse I always hear about, well, Darrell, you work out and all that, but you ain't got no kids and you ain't busy. I just don't have enough time to make it happen. There's something that you, I, Gandhi, Jesus, we all share in common. We got 24 hours in a day. It's the same measurement for everybody. It's just how we prioritize it, right? Now, and when we prioritize it, it's kind of amazing. We'll prioritize 5 hours a day for television. That's what the Nielsen rating said that we watch on average in the average American household. 5 hours of TV per day, per person, per American. That kind of stunned me when I looked that up this past weekend. Do you know how many books we read in the course of a year? 1. What if we took the 5 hours a day and said, okay, I can't give up my 5 hours a day of TV, but maybe I can give up an hour and exercise 1 hour a day. And then we'd have it. We'd end obesity virtually overnight. We'd fix the healthcare system overnight. Lives would be saved and destinies would be changed overnight. It's how we prioritize our time. Keep on rocking. Television, useless garbage. I'm pretty sure nothing has done more to destroy this country than TV and our perspective that is rendered through television. Thank you very much. Meditate on that which is pure and positive and powerful. There was an experiment done by a Japanese scientist, and I want to break this one down a little bit because I don't think I broke it down quite right in the first class because the impact should be profound. You can look this up on YouTube, and it will shock you to your core. The scientist's name is Emoto, E-M-O-T-T-O. Emoto. And he did experiments with water. Now, bear in mind and remember, you are about 80% water, right? We are mainly water. When Emoto did his experiments, he took 2 control groups. He took a group of water in one jar and a group of water in another jar, or quantity of water. And on the outside of one jar, he simply labeled hate, anger, resentment. On the other jar of water, he labeled joy, thanksgiving, gratitude, happiness. And he actually wrote those words on there. And then he had people come by and project those emotions toward that water. Now remember, you're a walking, living, talking projection of emotion all the time. We're projecting it all the time. Guess what happened to the water that had the anger and the hatred? It was yellow. At a molecular level, they put it under a microscope. It was yellow, it was blobby, and it looked like something that flew out of an ostrich's nose. It was nasty. This is at the molecular level under a microscope. He studied the actual molecules of water. Then over in the control group, which had the blessings on it and the gratitude projected toward it, guess what that water looked like on a molecular level? It was the most beautiful snowflake-like crystalline shapes. And nothing was changed except the projection of the emotion. The thoughts that were projected toward the water made the difference. Since you are water predominantly, how are you thinking about yourself when you look in the mirror? Do you see something where it looks beautiful? It's awesome that you're grateful, that you have gratitude, that you say positive things and blessings over and you go, I am great, I have greatness embedded in me. Or do you go, you're disgusting, you should just have donuts for breakfast. What happens at the molecular level? What's changing about our bodies? Think about that. You have greatness embedded within you. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let's see. All right, here we go. Ready for this part of the class? Being fearless. It takes courage to meet your goals. I'm a mixed martial artist. I'm a competitive boxer. I'm a state amateur wakeboarding champion. Thank you very much. Pretty much any goal I set before myself, I can hit it. But it's not without fear. You're going to combat fear on the way to goals. What if I make it and the people around me are not comfortable with anymore? What if I fail and I embarrass myself? Those are things that you have to confront. Fear will paralyze you into not moving toward your goals. It was Winston Churchill that said, courage is moving forward from defeat to defeat without losing enthusiasm. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's movement in the face of fear. So when you set those goals and you're moving toward those goals, understand that you'll face some fears. But recognize the difference between danger and fear. Danger keeps you from rolling over the edge of the cliff, right? So danger is necessary. But fear is incapacitating. And you do not want to let that regulate you. Fear is a mental construct if you get right down to it. Fear is all future-based. No one has ever experienced fear except in some future date. Some event or circumstance that's going to transpire as a result of, I'm afraid. Stay square in the moment. You'll find that the fear is much, much less likely to derail your efforts. Understand that life is going to bring you crises in the process of reaching your goal. And this is good. Did you know in Chinese the word for crisis is the same word that they use for opportunity? So sometimes when life throws you a curveball and a crisis develops out of it, it's because life's trying to give you an opportunity for change. You feel me? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Crisis is the catalyst for opportunity, which combined with preparation creates luck. Luck is where opportunity and preparation meet at the crossroads. And everybody thinks it's some spontaneous event. It seldom ever is. There's always opportunity and preparation at the base of it. The furnace of life is hot, but it forges a steel of strength from which we're made. Life's heavy-handed hammer will then pound our metal and shape us and sharpen us. And if we don't break, if we don't give up, then we're fit for service in the Maker's hand. That's an original, by the way. You can clap for that one. Live your life with purpose. If you are casual about your mountain, you will become the casualty of it. Yeah? Okay. Picture this. Now, this is how this works. Here's my mountain that I'm on. Here's the one I want to be at. So I'm standing here, and I go casually, I think I can make it to the other side. Well, and you fall right between the two mountains. If you approach it with purpose, you will leap soundly from one side to the other. You just have to make the commitment. You can't be casual about it. It's like if you're leaping from one building to the next at the top, and there's a small space between, you got it unless you approach it from a casual standpoint. So commit all the way. Does that make sense? All right. Don't be afraid to fail. Did you know 7 out of 10 millionaires were bankrupt at one time or another in this country? 7 out of 10. 70% had to fail to succeed. Do you know you can fail your way to success? If you have a weight loss goal and you have a target in mind and you slip and fall and you bust it, that just told you what you did wrong. You regroup and you keep going. You regroup and you keep going. Because you know what? It is never over until you win. Until you say, I'm done, I win. Or you can say, I quit, and it's over. Or you can say, I don't quit until I win. And then it's over. It's over when you say it's over. When you fail, fail forward. Commit yourself. Amazing things come into being and come to transpire to come and assist you when you commit yourself. Never let someone else's opinion of you determine who you are. Ever. You determine who you are. And when you fail, fail head first, not feet first. I'd much rather fail going head first than feet first on the couch. Just take a nap, I give up, it don't work. Or you can fail in the process of trying to create your dream and your vision and bring it into reality. When an archer shoots at a target, let's say that clock on that wall is my target. If I shoot at it and I miss it, I've failed. But I hit close, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get another arrow, I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to re-aim a second time. This time I'll be closer. And I fail, but now I'm closer. So I pull another arrow out, and I shoot again at that target. This time, I bullseyed it. But I had to fail twice to hit the bullseye once. You don't always hit the bullseye the first time. Sometimes failure is the necessary part to help you realign your aim until you hit your target dead on. Does that make sense? You can fail your way to success. I read that Thomas Edison tried 1,000 times to create the light bulb before he was successful. He shot his arrow 1,000 times until he created the light bulb that then changed the world. Colonel Sanders took everything he owned into 11 herbs and spice recipe, went in the trunk of his car, and called on roadside market that sold food after roadside market that sold food after roadside market that sold food, and heard no after no after no until he created a global franchise that was bigger than McDonald's at one point. On a smaller note, I met Toby Keith's record manager, who was telling me the story about how Toby Keith got started. And do you know that Toby Keith came to Nashville and met with all the major music labels? And he took his little demo tape with 5 songs on it. And he took it by all the major record labels, and guess what he heard? No, go back to the Midwest and get back on a farming tractor because you ain't no singer. And so, not ready to give up just yet. On the plane ride back home to, I think he's from like the Midwest somewhere. Oklahoma, thank you. He's on his way back to Oklahoma. He meets a lady who's a record executive from Nashville, and instead of just going, what's the use? He got his demo tape out, and one last shot, he said, I know these are good, and he handed it to her. And do you know that 4 of the 5 songs on that tape were top 10 hits? It's not over until you say it's over. It's not over until you win. Fight your ninjas one at a time. Good gracious. You ever seen those movies where the ninjas just come like pouring out everywhere, and they're like, and they're coming at the guy, Well, life's going to throw a lot of ninjas at you. Just step back. We're in martial arts, we sidestep an opponent, and we take them out one at a time. And we sidestep, and we take them out one at a time. We don't try to hit them all at the same time. Doesn't work. Fight your ninjas one at a time. That is almost the same thing as saying, one step, this one. I'm focusing on my why, not my how. I'm not nearly as concerned as how I'm going to get to the mountaintop as I am, why am I going to the mountaintop? Because if I know that, then I can take it one step at a time. I can fight those ninjas one step at a time as they come at me. Enthusiasm, the energy generator. If you run out of Red Bull, try enthusiasm. I'm going to get ahead of myself, but I can't wait, so I'm going to go ahead and do this just in case I run out of time. Do you know what would happen to Tarzan if he got on the vine and got on the edge of the tree and went, I ain't feeling it today. Bam! And he'd come crashing down, right? What does Tarzan do before he swings from tree to tree? Enthusiasm. And then he makes it. He gets Jane on the way. Enthusiasm is not something you possess. It's something that comes by invitation. You have to ask it to come. You have to court it. You have to bring it into your life. Don't expect to just roll out the bed and go, woo, I'm feeling it today. It probably won't happen. You have to create that environment. Sorry, I'm getting a lot over the top here. You have to create the environment for it. You have to court it. You have to bring it in. But nurture your passion. Nurture your enthusiasm because it will propel everything in your life. That's how I won the wakeboarding championship at 53 years old. A spot that's reserved for people less than half my age. But let me tell you, the look on those kids' face when I took that trophy, so sweet. So sweet. First, there was the look of scorn, right? When they saw that I was actually, here's the short version of it. I'm on the staging area, and they think I'm somebody's dad. And they're like, okay, which one of the kids had to have their dad come with him and hold their hand, right? Weenie. And then they realized I'm competing with them. And then it was like, oh, this is going to be good. This guy's going to kill himself. And then it was like, what? No, he did not. Behind every feeling is nothing. But behind every principle is a promise of accomplishment. You know, sometimes we get in trouble because we pay a little too much to time, give too much attention to our feelings. I don't feel like it today. I ain't feeling it. How many times we say that? I don't feel this. I don't feel it. Sometimes you have to move in spite of your feelings. Sometimes you just have to get out, court the passion, start the Tarzan yell, and get the ball rolling. Generate that state of high energy. And lead with your heart. It's where you live. There's a biblical passage that says, guard your heart, for it's the wellspring from which your life force flows. Stop thinking. Start living. And don't be average, because you have been brought here at a high calling. There's mathematicians that have gotten together and decided that for you to be here in this space, in this time, in this moment, first off, you had to defy 50 to 1,000,001 odds, because that's how many sperms there are trying to compete for the egg. And guess what? You all won. But for you to make it here in this place, in this time, in this moment, under these circumstances, right now, mathematicians have calculated that it is a 400 trillion to 1 anomaly. And we're all in this room together at the same time, in this moment in time. If I told you, I said, lightning's going to strike somewhere special tonight, and the odds of it hitting this place are 400 trillion to 1, you'd all go, where? Where's it going to be? We are that moment. We're all called to a high calling. Don't go for average. When you paint your mountain, when you make your mountaintop, make it outlandish. Make it crazy. Because it's better to shoot for that mountaintop and hit something right here than to aim for something down here and hit nothing. Remember, the average is just the best of the worst. And anybody can do that. It was Henry David Thoreau who said, don't go where the path will lead, but rather go where there is no path and leave a trail. There's greatness embedded in you. We're all self-made. But isn't it funny, only winners generally admit that? We're all products of what we believe. Our motto should probably be, instead of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It ought to be, if it ain't perfect, keep working on it. And remember, setbacks are only setups for victory. And this may be a little bit over the top, but I like to remember this, that at all times we're entertaining angels. Heaven's watching. It's waiting to see us move on our potential. They look on us in awe and they say, who are these mortals made in the image of the Most High? There's profound potential and greatness in all of us. If you're passionate about it, it'll come out. When David went to the river to gather stones because he knew he was going to be doing battle with Goliath, he didn't gather one stone, he gathered 5. Does anybody know why? In case he missed 4 times, right? Goliath had 4 brothers. And his intention was not only was he going to take out Goliath, he was going to take out his 4 brothers too. He was passionate. That's why he said he was most beloved of God, because he was passionate about what he did. When he squared off with Goliath, and they're talking smack, throwing down, and Goliath said, yeah, I'm going to squash you, you runt. And I'm going to paraphrase. And David basically said, oh, no. That's not the way it's going to happen. Not only am I going to kill you, when I'm done, I'm going to kill every Philistine behind you before I'm finished. He was passionate. He was committed. He believed 110%. And guess what? Heaven and earth moved to assist him in that. Live your life with that kind of passion. When you set your goal, aim high. The danger is not in setting a goal too high and missing. It's setting one too low and hitting it. All right. The last thing that I think is one of the biggest detractors to attaining your goals is the one everybody says right behind I don't have enough time is, I'm just too stressed. I'm just stressed out. I can't do it. What if I told you tonight, I can help you eliminate all stress in your life? Would that be worth the trip here tonight? Right? If I could show you the source of where it comes from, would it be worth it? Would you say, I can't ever use that excuse again? Stress drains, stress defeats, and nothing will derail a goal faster than stress. But stress is based on something very common, and that is judgment of situations, places, things, circumstances. We get in this trap of getting stressed because we think we can see into the future, and we know what's going to happen as a result of something that we encounter in our life that makes us stressed out. But the truth of the matter is we can't see a millisecond into the future. Not 1 second. So when we judge anything in our lives as stressful, it's because we think we're time travelers now. Or we can be like God. We can see a good thing from a bad thing. Wasn't that the lie in the Garden of Eden? The devil comes to him and it says, oh, no. You won't die if you eat this fruit. You'll be like God. You'll know a good thing from a bad thing. Wasn't that the promise? But what happened? We die. We get stressed out because we think we can see into the future and see a good thing from a bad thing. But the truth is you cannot. So what do? We live in the moment. We fight our ninjas one at a time. We take the step to the top of the mountain one step at a time. This is how we live. This is how we live stress-free. Is that sinking? Is that sinking in? It's life-changing. Let it absorb in. Just a second. Let that absorb in. All stress comes from trying to predict the future. If each and one of you left this auditorium and you went outside and you went, great, a flat tire. This is awful. This is just perfect. This is just icing the cake on my day. Right? Isn't that what most of us would say? I got things to do, places to go, people to see. I ain't got time for no flat tire. Isn't that what we would say? Because that's our default nature. But what we're really doing is we're judging this situation as bad. I'm going to show you how ludicrous this is, but we do it by nature. We would say that situation is bad, but what if we were going to pull out in the traffic and we were going to get T-boned? Oh, well, then the flat tire would be good, right? But wait a minute. But what if when we got T-boned, we got in a lawsuit and we won millions of dollars? Well, then it's good, isn't it? But what if when we got T-boned and got paralyzed and then won $1 million, the millions of dollars made us miserable and ruined us? We've all seen those things on TV about people who win the lottery and it destroys them, right? So it destroyed us. So then, I guess it was bad, wasn't it? Do you see the lunacy and the stress that comes from trying to label every single thing in your life as good or bad? This is the source of human stress. Let it go. You don't need it. Drop it like bad, heavy luggage at the airport of life. You don't need it. Live your life one step at a time, one day at a time, one moment at a time. Fight your ninjas one at a time. Let that stress go. It's not our default setting. It goes against our very nature. We're born into that system of prejudging everything and labeling it as good or bad. It just simply is what it is. Just witness it, absorb it, let it be. Like the Beatles song, let it be, let it be. I can't sing. I apologize for that. That was pretty bad. Remove stress as an obstacle. We cannot time travel. We cannot possibly predict the quantum effect of the ripples of the big rock that we throw in the pond of life. Maybe that flat tire's good, maybe it's bad. But you know what? Getting stressed about it is like beating my head on this podium. It makes no sense at all. It just is what it is. What if we just take all of those circumstances in life and approach them that way? Today is the day. Now is the time. Your lives are never going to be the same. Thank you for having me.
Well, if you didn't pick up on something on how to achieve a goal, I think you weren't listening. Because there was something there. Maybe it was just a quick statement. Maybe it was just something he said, a realization that you had. And I just hope that you'll take those things and put them into action. And one thing I know is that for most of us, and I include myself in this, is our goals, the things that we're shooting for, the things that we're going after, our goals are not high enough. So the first thing I would encourage you to do is to step back and say, okay, what are my goals? Have I set those goals? And it's not necessarily, when we started this journey together 7 or 8 weeks ago, remember we said this wasn't all about weight loss? And I hope that you're finding that to be true. And I hope that you're stepping back and saying, you know what, if I can achieve this, if I can lose a pound a week, or if I can lose just a pound period that I never could do before, what is it that I never thought I could do, but that I can achieve now? And so I hope that you'll step back, take some of the things that Kenneth talked about and say, you know what, I need to set bigger goals. I know that I can achieve more. I know that I'm at a place, like he talked about, I'm destined for greatness. You all are. We all are. So take a step back, look at your goals, and if they're not at least slightly out of reach, reset them. because your goals need to feel at least slightly out of reach. You're never going to stretch. You're never going to grow. So take a look at that. Put some of these things into action, and you're going to start achieving things that you never believed that you could achieve. So I hope you guys have an awesome week. We've got 2 weeks left. Finish strong. I love you guys. Have a great week.